So we're back with part 2 of lesson 5, and we started setting up our file upload capability. So we've created this method, and now we're going to need to put some code in here. So how's this method going to work? So the first thing we need to do is get the temp location of the uploaded file. So I'll create a variable called file path. And there's a method we can use in .NET called getTempFileName. This is going to tell us where in server memory the file has been uploaded to. We also want to create a unique name for the image. How come? Why should we do this? We don't have to, but it's a good idea. Why would we want to make sure that file name's unique? Okay, could be Raymond. What if we've got like 1,000 pets in the pet store? Yep, Fatima, can you explain a bit more? Right, what if we have 5 pets with the same name, right? And we upload a file with that pet name, we don't want to overwrite. We don't. Yeah, we want to make sure that all the image names are unique. So even if we have 5 pets with the same name, each record in the database, each pet is going to have a unique name for the photo. So I'll create a new variable called file name. And Microsoft has a class. Actually, I'll maybe put a few comments in here of what we're going to do before how we do it. Use the globally unique identifier GUID class so something like bob.jpg will become something like so we're going to use this built-in class called a GUID. This generates this long random string of letters and numbers. So it would, if the original file was like bob.jpg, it will then be something like this. So this will guarantee that each of our photos for each pet, it has a unique name. So we don't have to worry about overwriting. So we're going to use this GUID class. And if we call the method new GUID, this creates some long random string. Then we'll put it on a dash after it. And then we'll keep the original name. I also notice I'm missing a reference here on line 52. It doesn't recognize path. So I'm going to accept the suggested reference to system.io, which stands for input output. So whenever we're reading or writing with the file system, we need to make a reference to system.io in .NET. So I make that reference, and now path is recognized. It's part of the input output library. So we're figuring out where did the file get uploaded to. We're using the GUID class to create a unique name for the photo. And then we want to set destination folder dynamically. So we need to point to this directory we've created inside www root img pets. The challenge here is the folder location. We can't use a relative path when we're actually saving to the file system. We need a fully qualified path starting from the root drive. So I could hard code it in, my C users R Freeman source. The problem is, if I hard code that file path, it works on my computer, but if I upload my code to the Azure server, which I'm going to do later today, the path's going to be totally different. So we need to get the folder path, but it has to be dynamic. So I'm going to create a variable called upload path. And we're going to get the current directory, and then we'll append on www root img pets. So how do I get the current directory in .NET? I'll use the system.io library, and it has a directory class, which also has a method called getCurrentDirectory. And now we'll append on our www root img and pets plus our unique file name. So this is where we want to save the new photo. Our current directory on the web server, and then into the images and pets folder we created with our new file name. Now we want to execute the file save. So we're going to use an object called a file stream. And the file stream needs two parameters. Where are we saving it? Well, we're saving this file to our upload path. And the second parameter is, are we creating a file? Are we appending to an existing file? In this case, we're going to use file mode.create. So using this stream, we're going to copy that uploaded photo into our destination. So this is the code that actually saves that image to the web server. The last thing we're going to do, we've still got this error here. Our method needs to return a string. So we're going to send the unique uploaded file name back so we can save it to the DB along with the pet data. So we're generating a new file name. We need to attach that file name as the pet photo. So we will return our file name variable. Once we return this, we send it back. Notice the red underline under upload photo, it goes away. So here's our whole method. I will put it up on GitHub right now in case you got a little behind or had an error and you're trying to catch up. I'll also leave it up on my screen for a minute too. But there's our upload photo method. So we're going to use the same method when we're creating a pet or when we're editing a pet. We'll now need to make some changes in the create method to check for a photo. And if there is one, we want to call the upload photo method and send in that image so we can process all of it. So where do we find that? You'll notice if I scroll down, there's two methods called create. There's one here that says get pets create, and it's really small, just a few lines of code. And then we've got this one that says post pets create, that's got quite a bit more code. How come we have two different create methods here? One with get and a second one with post. What's the purpose of that? When does this version get executed? Or what happens here? Yeah, exactly. When you click to create, it calls the get method, which loads our empty form. Yeah, Ralph, so it could be we're not actually retrieving anything in this case, but we're just displaying. So when we click create new, I'll just build my project after adding that change. When I click create new, it loads the form. And then the post, as Jordan and Tusha did, that's when we actually submit the form by clicking the create button. So we can leave the get method alone. We want to call our photo upload when we are creating, when we're posting or submitting the form. So we're going to make just a couple small changes here. The first one is notice the parameters we have here. How does this work? When we submit the form, this bind method, what this does is connect up the individual inputs on the form. It binds them or connects them to the properties of the pet model. So it fills the name input to the name property, the color input to the color property, the age. And notice photo is here. I'm going to remove photo because we're not going to treat it like a string. So I'm going to take the photo out, and I'm going to redefine the photo property here as a form file. So photo is not just a string that we're mapping. It actually now represents this iForm file. It represents a file upload or a potential file upload. It's optional, so it might be blank, or there might be an image that got uploaded. Okay, so remove the photo parameter from this list and make it a new parameter of type iForm file. So here's the code that runs when we try to create a new pet. So somewhere in here, we're going to need to evaluate, is there a photo upload? And if there is, we want to send it into our upload method here that we wrote. So where inside this code, where would it make sense to process the photo upload? So we're going to add some code somewhere in the block I've highlighted. Where do you think it makes sense to put it? Okay, inside the if. Any other opinions? So Tushar thinks it should go in here somewhere. Do you agree with Tushar? You have a different opinion? What do you think? Okay, thanks, Raymond. So I agree it should go in here. So if our model is valid, so the user has followed all of the validation rules, they haven't left anything out. So now where inside this if statement should it go? Should it go before this code or after it? When do we say upload the photo? Before saving to the database or after saving to the database? Yeah, that's right, Ralph. It's got to happen before. That's right, Fatima, because we're going to need, right? We'll need the unique name to save. So upload photo if any. So if our photo isn't null, so the user did browse to an image file, then we'll call, actually, we'll do it this way. If the photo is not null, we can just say var file name equals. So we're going to call our method. And store the unique file name we get back. Oops. And then we'll set the pet photo equal to the file name. So we'll give the new pet object the unique file name to save. I think we're good. We should be able to try this out now. So I'm going to add a new pet. And I'm going to browse to one of the photos in that little zip file I put up on Blackboard. We'll see, does it create the pet? Does the pet get a photo name? And does the photo get saved into the IMG pets folder? We'll give it a try. Back. One, she's a dog. So now I'm going to browse. I'll pick the Sola photo. And we'll see if our file upload works. Okay, so it's saved the record. You can see we've got this image. So here was the original image name. Here's the GUID, this globally unique identifier. And now if I go to my Solution Explorer under Pets, I can actually see that that photo got uploaded. Cool. I'm going to try one more. So now I'll pick the image of Crosby. And notice that globally unique identifiers different. So now I've got two images saved. So we want to do two more things with this. It's working now when we're creating pets. We'll need some code on the index. We don't want to print out the image names. That's useless. We want to actually display these in IMG tags. And then when we go to edit a pet, instead of seeing the file name as text, we should display the image and include a browse button so we could change or replace the pet image if we wanted to. So we're going to do all those things. We'll modify our pet index first to show the photos. So we've already got the pet index open. So I'm going to take out the code on line 54. This is just printing out the name of the photo. Well, that's useless. So let's delete this line that has HTML display for the item.photo. And instead, we'll replace it with a little if statement. We'll say if model.photo, if item.photo does not equal null, then we want to display an image tag. And our source will be the images folder and then the pets folder. And then dynamically, our pet photo. So we're only going to get this IMG tag when there's a photo attached to the pet record. If the photo is null, the column will just be blank. We'll deal with that next. Okay, so I've taken out the display for with the item photo, and we've replaced it where instead we're using the item photo in the source attribute of an image tag. So now I get a couple of puppies. These images are a little bit big. So I could use CSS to make them a little smaller. So I think I want to do that. So I'm going to add one more thing here. I'm going to add a class of thumb. So I'm going to make my own thumbnail class. So add class equals thumb, and then we can scoot over to our style sheet and define a width attribute of this thumb property. So in Solution Explorer under www.root, we've got CSS. We have a style sheet, site.css. So we could add a class definition for thumb. So I'm going to click it, scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to add a thumb class. I'll try setting those thumbnail images at 100 pixels wide. They might be too big, they might be too small. We may have to play around with it a little bit. That's probably better. So we can see a little better here. So again, in the HTML, I've added class equals thumb, and I defined the thumb class in the site CSS at a width of 100 pixels. Now our table still looks a little bit kind of wonky because some of the pets have images and some of them don't. So I also added this little image here, this placeholder. So I actually want to copy this image. So I'm going to go to my pet zip. I'm going to copy the placeholder. And in Visual Studio, I'm going to paste it into the pets folder as well. Okay. So what we want to do is if there is no photo attached to the pet, we want to display the placeholder here instead. So we can modify the if statement we did here. We're going to leave what's here. This is fine. But now we can add an else. So if the photo is null, so now every pet will have an image beside it. If we've uploaded a photo, that's going to show. If we haven't uploaded a photo, we're going to show the placeholder instead. I'm just adding on this else condition and making sure my placeholder gets added to the pets folder. That's interesting. What happened there? Oh, there. Just a cache problem. So I've got placeholders on 4 of my pets, and I've got actual photos on 2 of them. So we're mostly done with this, but not completely. I'll push again. Display pet photos. So if you've missed anything we've done so far, you can refer to it from GitHub. We still need to include the file upload when we are editing. So here I have a Luna photo here, but I have no way to add it right now. I still have a text box here. So to incorporate the file upload into edit, we need to change the edit view. And then we need to make the same changes to the edit method that we did in the create method by changing photo to an iForm file. And then we can just literally copy this block into our edit post method. So let's make those changes as well. This won't take us very long. If it's working properly on create, we should just be able to use the same code when we're editing. So I'm going to open up under views. Let's open up views, pets, and edit. And I'm going to just make a few changes. Again, I'll change the title here. Pet. This can say edit pet. And I can take out that useless H4. And I'm going to make the same 2 changes in this view as in the create view. In our form on line 12, we'll need to add the encoding type. so that we can upload a file. So we're going to add the encoding type to our edit form. And then we'll scroll down to the photo input that's on line 42. And again, we're going to add the type attribute. Type equals file. We'll do one more thing here, which is if there is a current photo, let's also display it. So in this div tag, we'll say if model.photo does not equal null, we'll display the photo as an image. And we can display it at full scale. We don't need to shrink it down to a thumbnail, really, I don't think. So when we're editing a pet record, we can actually see so I'll save those changes. So here, when I'm editing Luna, there's no photo. If I edit Sola, we can now browse to a new photo, but we can also see the current photo. Not sure what happened here. Think somebody may be using my project and you're connected to my database. Please remember, if you download my project, to change the database connection string. So that you're working with your own database, so we don't get mixed up. So I'm going to go back to the pets controller. And just like we had two create methods, a get and a post, we have two edit methods, the get and the post. So I'm going to make the same changes here. I'm going to take out the photo from the list of bound properties. I'm going to define photo as a form file instead. So exactly the same thing we've already done in the create. So I've removed it from this list. It's now its own separate property of type iForm file. Represents a file sent with an HTTP request. I'm then just going to copy our little block of code from the create method. If this code is identical. So let's copy it. And inside our edit, right here inside the try, if our model is valid, before we update and call save, we'll check for the photo. If there is one, we'll upload the photo and we'll set the pet photo to our new file name. So this should allow us to now edit a pet and change the photo. I'll save it. I'm going to try it out. So we've changed line 127 and we've added this block of code. You can see in green where we've added it. We'll try it out and see how it works. So Sam has no photo, but I have a Sam photo. And now when I save, photo is replaced. So I want to edit Luna and go from no photo. I want to upload the picture of Luna. It's here. I've also got a photo for Pumpkin. So I'll browse. So where we have photos, they get displayed, and now we can upload both when we're creating or when we are editing. But we've written the upload code in a function, so it's reusable. We can call it from both create and edit. We haven't had to duplicate that code into each method. So when we look at our customizations, we can both upload and display photos. Okay, so we're getting there. This page, if you think about where it was last week and where it is now, we've improved it quite a lot, haven't we? We've added the sorting. We've added the currency formatting. We've got our photos being uploaded. So it's a lot more usable and functional than it was before. There are a few other customizations I'd like to make kind of site-wide. Anybody have any questions about the file upload? Okay. So let's have a look at how we could do some site-wide customizations, right? This just looks like basic Bootstrap out of the box. I know there's some talented designers in here. Put a bunch of links in here. Let's go here first. So in lesson 5, let's go to Google Fonts. Let's open that up. Takes you to fonts.google.com. I want you to go and grab a different font for the site. I think I'm going to grab this one. You can grab any font you like. I'm going to use the regular. I'll click select. And I will want to link to this in our layout file and then change the default font family in our style sheet to use my Google font. So I'm going to copy those style sheet links. I'll go to my layout, scroll up into the header. I'll make a reference that these are Google fonts. So I'm going to paste those in. So you can use any font family you like. You don't pick the same one I did. And then I'll go back to the Google Font site and I'll copy that CSS rule. We've already got our style sheet open. So in the body tag, that's on line 61, starts on line 61, I'll paste in the new style, the new default font family. For me, it's Titilium Web. And now when I go back to my site, we can see the font's been changed. Let's do a little more with this. There's some more we can do. Let's choose a color palette. So I've also linked to a couple color resources. I like the material palette. Oops. So I'm going to open up this one. This is a Google design tool, largely used for themes. So they've got palettes, they've got colors. But I'm going to go to the palettes. So let's pick two complementary colors for our pet store. What color? Pick a main color. Give me a color you want to use as the main color for our pet store. Once we have the main color, we'll find a complementary color. All right, the deep purple. So you can pick anything you like. Okay, so maybe the deep purple and the green. All right, so this gives us a series of complementary colors. Cool. And it also gives us the hex values that we can use. So first thing I want to do is I want to use this green color for our links and buttons. So I'm just going to copy, if I just click on this accent color, and you don't have to use these colors, use any colors you like. So this has copied the hex value. So notice by default, all our links are blue, right? Our anchor tags in the style sheet. So if we go to the style sheet and go to our anchors, I'm going to change our links as well as our BTN primary. Again, I'm going to make the background color I'm going to use that green color. So now all our links are green and our buttons are green. Oh, we'll have to deal with the hover effect as well. So there's our green. Let's see where in the style sheet we can change the hover. We may have to define a new class for it. I'll come back to the buttons. We want to make, so right now we've got this light navigation bar with dark text. I want to use this primary color for our header and make our text on the links either white or this light gray. So I'm going to click this primary color. And then in the style sheet, I'm going to override the Bootstrap the navbar dark class. So I'm going to change the background color to that dark purple. So I'll save that. And then I'm going to need to go to the layout file because right now our navbar is using the navbar light class. So I'm going to change that in my layout on line 18. I'm going to change navbar light, navbar dark, and I'm going to take out this BG white class that makes our navbar white. So it just says navbar dark. And I've defined a navbar dark in the style sheet with the purple color. So that's good. It's purple, but our links are dark. So I'm also going to need to modify the nav links so that they're white. Easy enough. On lines 28 and 31, our links are using by default the class of text dark. I'll just toggle those to text light. That should change our home and categories links from black text to white text. And the rollover is gray, which is good. That works. Oops. I also need to change the login partial because our register and login links, they're also hard to see. So under views and shared, we've got login partial. These links also are using text dark. I'm going to change all of those. There's 4 links on the page. I'm going to toggle all of them from text dark to text light. So we'll actually get white text against our dark purple background. Going to make one other cosmetic change, which is I'm going to add some striping to our table. At least one. I'll leave the palette open. So if we look at Bootstrap, we look at tables, right? This is just a regular table. But we've got these versions. And we've got striped rows, and we've also got hoverable rows. So we want striped rows as well as the hoverable rows. So I'm going to make another class in my style sheet for the alternating rows. On table striped, on the body, type, we're going to set the background color of those alternating types with maybe one of the other colors from our palette. So I'll come back here in a minute. Maybe I want this light purple. So I'll click on this one. And this should give me alt rows that are alternating white background and the light purple. I know that class definition is kind of crazy. I'll put it in the chat here. Oh, I haven't added the table striped class to my table. So go back to the pet index. And in our table, we've already got table and sortable. We're going to add table dash striped as well as table dash hover. So this will give us the alternating background colors with a hover effect. So when I hover, it turns gray over the white ones. Our table's a little easier to read because the rows are alternating. Okay, so we're using some of the tools that are here. We're using Bootstrap, using the material design palette in Google Fonts to kind of personalize this site. I'll also just add a note onto my home page, under home and index. I'll put a reference to where the images came from. These are royalty-free images from So I'm just making a note on my homepage about where the images came from, because they're not ours. If you're looking for royalty-free images, Pixabay is another place you might get them. There's also a link I've put up here to Bootswatch, which are free themes for Bootstrap. So you can download and add one of these if you wanted, let's say, a dark theme. You just go and download, and you would overwrite the Bootstrap in your project. And it would then give you this color scheme in your project instead. And these are free. You would just reference the source of these. But you could use these for customizing your look as well. Okay, so we're taking what ASP.NET gives us, and we're starting to make it into our own project that looks like something of our own. Okay, it is 12:54. I'm going to upload to GitHub again. When we come back, we're going to talk briefly about a site logo. We're going to have a little competition for that for anyone who's interested. And then the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to create a README file, and I'm going to deploy this site to Azure. So I'm going to get my site running live on the internet, which is part of what you'll want to do for your assignment. So we'll go through that process when we come back. We shouldn't be all that long. We should be able to wrap up at a decent hour today, start your long weekend a bit early. Okay, so we will come back in 10 minutes. And I will push everything up to get we've done so far.